Sanibona Mafethu. We are live or we are recording in Zuma Fashion Cafe, as we all said. I'm a podcast so today, clearly with a person that I don't think needs much introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. Purplesherpad. We all know him for making sure with Amaji that follow their dreams. He's into a whole lot of inspirational talk, motivational talks. I remember I was one of his talks, Starbucks, which was at Florida Road, and then from there I followed him and invite her. To be honest with you, as a busy person that he is, I didn't think Uguti he's going to reply as soon as he did, which I'm very grateful. With the team, we had to make sure that he prepare everything fast because we had other commitments. But we say Pendul and I'm not and we had to make sure we grab this opportunity because but Siambonga Jebetu for actually coming through. But the most important thing in Kumbonga is the fact that a lot of youth, especially Ama Auti, they are focused in the Layoguti, Bamtan, this is the Kumayo, and this is the Kumayo Ziaka. It's making sure that the youth is focused. One, two, letting us know about a lot of things. Obviously, whether it's family, whether but never in a platform where it's seen by 1,000, by millions of people at some point. So those topics are very important in school. Some of us don't have but some of us are so when we get a platform where people meet up or youth or meet up and talk openly about these topics, we are building a very good and a very promising future and promising country for Amato. So I'm not going to be long. I'm going to ask him to continue, and I'm going to ask him to introduce himself. And I'm going to ask him to obviously be the star of the show as always. But siyambonga kakhulu ngokuthi kwazile ukuthi avele afike eNtuzuma. Mayifike eNtuzuma kufanele ukuthi ufike kaMachu, kufanele ukuthi ufike eNanda, kufanele ukuthi ufike Phoenix. So maye ngala sibonga kakhulu and siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi azobuza on our podcast which we call Fashionable Talks. So sikwazi ukuhlala naye. Siyabonga. Okay, tell us about yourself. I think when you were introducing or people were introducing themselves earlier on, I think to a lot of other people, I think now I know that you started this a long time ago, 2014, if not 2015. But what made you wanna be or take the path that you took to motivate, to inspire, to be in business, to be in trading, to be cryptocurrency, to all of them in one package. How do you maneuver? How do you make sure that in all of that you're doing, because to be honest with you, you could be just living in Piloyak, but you take time to firstly come here in Tuzu. And then secondly, to avail yourself to Ontangabami and younger guys who are way younger than me, 20s, early 20s. So one makes you a person who dedicates or who sets aside a good whole day or a good Saturday. Who would say, I'm going to come through, I'm going to speak to the guys. Why do you feel there's a need for that, and what drives that need?
Well, thanks again for an opportunity, and thanks for hosting us. My first time in Tuzum, guys. So thank you again, and Mama. welcoming us here. Shout out to you for the work that you're doing. Um, Firstly, I will say it's this is motivation. I always we always have these conversation time and time again about for Tabanye who are young, and they always ask Mbuzo ukuthi apa manye role model amnyama, that we can esingakwazi ukurelate now. Awatholakali, because most of the guys when they make it they leave the hood. We cannot blame them for that vele ngoba kunzima ukuhlala elokishini futhi musu-right, so shout out to you for making sure that you're one of the examples khona la elokishini that is doing it and you're documenting it at the same time, because what has been lacking kakul more than anything when it comes to abantu abamnyama is we don't document our own history or our own journey. So hence now I took it upon myself to document my journey, because into ebalulekile more than anything abantu kumele bayibone it's a process, because lokho kuyakusiza ukuthi ubone ukuthi it's possible, kuyenze. So for me, I was driven nje into eyodwa nje mfethu mina yangenza ukuthi took it upon myself to change my life was poverty. I come from a background where there was nothing, absolutely nothing. Story fethu somehow amaningi general asuke elokishini siyafana, most of us, majority, it's almost like 60 to 70% of guys are bakhuliswa obaba beko, I'm one of those guys as well now, who grew up in Mlazi, my mom thought some seat because of time, but I'm gonna try and send this line. I grew up in Mlazi, and there was never nothing motivator beyond ukuthi ugqoke kahle ushaye iy'ngane and then drive a nice car. That's all, you know. So coming from that environment, uh, you don't even dream. The only thing that you see is just the same people that are doing is in right, but they are the people that you look up to, because there are no good role model, right, and those guys who came or who grew up konelokishin baphumelela ayibahamba babuyele emuva, or noma when they come back bafika sebezosiflexela behamba ney'ngane ney'moto, and then don't tell her bangasitshela ukuthi baphumelele kanjani, bavele basitshela ukuthi hayi work hard, yabo. So nje, yeah, I think one of the thing young motivates, I mean, from everything, the guys that wabangani bami engakhula nabo, most of them besisithanda this game. We were the type of guys that we saw something is not right here, and asikwazi ukuthi sikhule la siphinde sifele la. No, we gotta do something different. So education was the key for us, and unfortunately, it as much as you can say um education yona was keep, but the environment for me, because you go to school and then you come back and when I was born, let's just say fundile zathola ama-degree but asisipani, yabo. So all of those things for this, and now it's been as discouraged, and now lezo zinto about what's the use of me continue, keleza, when I see now boban they have PhD but bahleli bayadakwa, like, but not understanding it's an individual choice too, yabo. Yabo. So yeah, I think for me, bro, that was the motivation, the poverty, because I wanted to get out from that system, and because it's logic toxic, bro. I don't care how much you can try and dress it and think that it's nice to be a luxury. It's the way it's designed, it's systematic too,
Yeah.
with developing Melik Benja, and you cannot blame our people for operating like that, because in Lela,
I beg you.
you know what I mean? So I had to get out of it, and my mission was to make sure that I find something or a skill that is going to make me money. And I knew that, Uguti, yes, if I go that route, chances are it's going to take me scat, Uguti, ipumela.
Yeah.
So I had to find a high income skill that's going to make me money faster and way better, because my focus, Kakulu, was to get money. I didn't care about anything else. I wanted to get money so that I can get out.
Yeah.
So that's where I got introduced to, because the first thing that you do when you go on the internet you're gonna type how to make money, and the first thing is over for us, you know, that you're gonna
Yeah.
see. So then I started learning about it, and yeah, that was my way out. And eventually, as a scatis hamba, I mastered the skill. You know, I lost a lot of money for years trying goma, investing in other people's things. We would say Panama robot, you buy this thing, doesn't work, you lose money, you get pissed because it's like the narrative that says forex is scam. So now not mkondo it's scam, let
Scam.
share pants, not knowing at the end of the day it's a skill that one needs to put in work and understand it and learn
In
until
time.
you master it. You know what I'm saying? So it took me some time, almost like 3 to 4 years, mastering it, and then I started to be profitable. From there, I print again. I made my first million in 2016, and from there I knew that now, one way.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically what really motivated me was poverty. I wanted to get out, and eventually I get out. So starting these conversation, kakulu was just the lack of the education even born out. They're not informed. Two, there's no one cares about out women have so many programs that are out there. There are so many programs that are uplifting women these days. So the programs that are uplifting a black man, hey, it's our work. Because I'm bad, man, you can count them, So I took it upon myself, which we've been complaining about these things that government doesn't care about. So let me start something, Started like at Starbucks with the guys that I used to hang out with. And unfortunately, the Amachitan now were guys who are academics, and when we started, it was all about academics and education and all of that. And so mina vele ngidegree anginayo yabo. Babebengicanyela indlela engicabanga ngayo because I taught them izinto abangayifundanga ngesikele. Bebe nama-degree. And I helped them out. So that's where we started being friends with them, and we started pushing this thing. And then social media was the platform that make this thing. You know what I mean? So we started pushing it because I used to follow Gary V. There was a guy called Gary V back then, So this guy used to predict um the next big thing when it comes to social media. So he will speak about something that is going to boom in the next 4 to 5 years. And then he spoke about TikTok. Way back, TikTok wasn't even booming. Very few people knew about TikTok. And I was like, what is this TikTok thing? And I started go searching it, and I saw it. And I was like, okay. Yeah, and then I started putting more videos because I'll have a conversation with Archie, this guy. And we're just talking about finance, And then I'll record him with my phone while he's talking, and then uploading it. And that's where it started blowing up. And then eventually one of my mentors saw what we was doing because I posted it on my platform as well, like on my WhatsApp. He's like, you know what, I like what you guys are doing, but the problem is Nikuluma Nod and Kulumna bad. The conversation in Bana about two and man so why don't you start inviting others and then teach them, So and then I spoke to Sianza, one of the managers at Starbucks, and approached them about it. They're like, no, cool. You guys, we can support you guys, whatever that you guys need, and then they gave us the platform, and then we started it. Yeah, so that's how we started.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very motivating. And go back issue with the talking about I think after I had the million part, then that's when yeah, whatever else you said. I'm kidding, I'm joking. But the most important thing with the Sibonga is a little bit an issue in the local because I think it needs to be repeated so that going forward, not just in Mema because we know your capabilities and not just Zamugwenza in the world. Basically, our podcast is all about motivating, all
That's
about doing what you're doing, But what better way to start it? Because this is actually our first episode ever.
Wow! Shout out
This
to you
is
guys,
our
man.
first
Shout out
episode. So it's the first. We've shot promos. I showed you the promos before. But we shot the promos, but this is actually the first.
Shout out
but
to you
we're
guys.
taking from you and saying, we're taking from you and saying, Siabonga, and we will love ukuthi ube khona ngoba ube khona namhlanje siyabonga kakhulu and
mm,
kuba khona kwakho it's to solidify lento esiyishoyo ukuthi sithatha from you and
mm,
we're running with it
mm,
and siyabonga for you to come and blessing the first episode
mm.
and we hope ukuthi inqwaba yabantu when it gets there it hits the
Yeah.
internet people will really know the type of person that you are because ngikhuluma nawe you didn't not once you um not once you pushed ukuthi what am I getting out of this
Mm,
so that's when I saw with no but this guy is very authentic because
mm,
you knew the my request
mm,
you understood the request obviously you did your homework here and there
mm,
but uthi hayi mfethu no mina count me in I'm there
mm,
ngize entuzuma ngoba uqala ngisho ukufika entuzuma
mm,
ingakade ngisho ukuthi ukuba khona entuzuma kufanele ukuthi ukamashu kufanele
mm,
ukuthi because it's a community we
mm.
call it the ink
Yeah.
community because inanda intuzuma kwamashu and ngoba uhlezi ubona ku-TV there's a lot of young men that need grooming,
Mm.
particularly in these areas that you mentioned.
Sure.
And ukuba khona kwakho, it's gonna draw attention to us.
Mm.
And nabanye abafunayo those are guys I missed out.
Mm.
When is the next one?
Mm.
And siyacela ukuthi when we invite you again, but avail yourself because
Sure.
your impact to the youth, to ontanga bami, to even abantu abadala, it's very huge, and we need abantu abanjengawe. Yeah, so ilokho nje engingakusho from esayidini lami
Yeah.
and then uShepard Vet, where you come from
Yeah.
is it you were born here
Mlazi.
Bay?
No, Mlazi. Grew up in Mlazi. Kagogo. I've shared this story many times in many podcasts. We were about 16 of us in a 4-room house. And, it was a very toxic environment. My mom was the only breadwinner out of and and just banning yeah. Sikhule nje kagogo phethe emlazi ubaba wami wakaviye nemlazi so ne-oledi ke yeah I grew up in emlazi phethu yeah basically it's that yeah
and I know which you are very strong on the narrative you're to where you come from
Yeah.
doesn't determine where you're going.
yeah
And I think a lot of inqwaba yethu ngoba bese ngishilo ekuqaleni we grew up without fathers some of us we grew up in single parent homes but I know you're very strong on saying guys even if ubungenamzali
Sure.
ubungena this that but it doesn't determine ukuthi
Yeah.
now sekufanele kuphele ngawe or
Yeah.
sekufanele nawe fall into that system.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing in singene kuyona namhlanje about exactly how we motivate umuntu ongenababa or umalume because yes ubaba engangabe bikho but omalume sometimes nabo can be like hey yona ingane yami ingane yasisi wami I'm not there yabo thola ukuthi umfana udinga i-direction udinga umuntu ozothi qala besikhula ingane kweyomphakathi ukuthi mayiganga sayikhuza sayithatha nami ngumalume wa next door I'm still a malume but right now we see ungena baba ungena parent ungena mama you are a person or makuthi uma wakho wenze inkinga or baba wakho wenze inkinga so it becomes nje ukuthi hey mina vele I'm destined for failure so why would you want to be part of ukuthi motivate yabo so how do we enter the topic yokuthi I know it's very vast
yeah
ihluke kaningi but how do we say today kumhla ka5 entuzuma sikhuluma nentuzuma sikhuluma nomasha sikhuluma inanda as we know it's just a mess right now when it comes to this community so how do we say today as people know you how you normally motivate people today entuzuma a fashion cafe.
Hey.
How do we motivate a person who says, vele vele mina mfethu hey kusizani
Mm.
ubaba ubephuza nami ngizophuza
Yeah.
uma even ngisho amantombazane
Mm.
uma ubehamba 2 days 3 days engabuyi
Yeah.
so why should I study? Why should I open myself to
Yeah.
the bigger world? Because umhlaba usuyinto eyodwa
Mm.
manje. You know, you
Mm.
can be sitting at home uchathe nomuntu say New York. So
Yeah.
umhlaba is literally into A1 man. Kusafana nakuqala we
Yeah.
umuntu wala. So
Yeah.
how do we engage?
Well, njengoba usho nje nawe so impendulo yale question ombuza yona i-vast kakhulu yabo. But mina ngokubuka kwami i-solution whenever you look at amalokishi right now we are busy working with other guys on our own AI bot. So this AI bot is going to help in terms of collecting all the data, let's say, well, a township or a makaya, and it's going to collect in terms of behavior. Yeah, from ingane umfana na 5 to 34. And then izosiza in terms of i-understand ukuthi zeziphi izinto ezenza ukuthi ingane yomfana uma ikhula ekhaya elinobaba nomama or noma ikhula ekhaya elinomama ubaba engekho but decide so ukuthi izothatha lesi sinqumo sokuthi yona izoshona le ingahambi ngale ndlela. And so we trying to show that, and what I can say is that one, we need to also understand like we are saying earlier on, there's a location is systematic. So there are systems that are involved. One, that is happening when it comes to the grooming of ingane from iswa primary, especially umfana ihlukile when kuyiswa ingane entombazane primary, because leyo mfana mayiswa primary iqala nje lokuqala mayigqokiswa ihambiswa iyiswa esikoleni whoever oyihambisayo i-approach yakhe lo ehambisayo the conditioning yokuthi hey hambe esikoleni or else uzoba usikhotheni njengoba I understand or ungafani no already le ntwana isitsheliwe lokho kuyatraumathiza kukodwa le ntombazane mayikhuthaza hambe esikoleni so that you can be this powerful woman, have businesses, have this and that. Already yona i-approach yayo even noma isifike esikoleni i-treatment-ke ayizoyithola leyo mfana kuthisha ihlukile kunale ntombazane, because if umfana engabehave ngendlela ethize uzo-remindwa futhi uyena uthisha uzoba usikhotheni njengalo yabo. So the approach is even the attention eyitholayo boba uthula ahlukile, so now already this umfana lo usebenzela ku-0 1 ntombazane ahead already. Now if you like just from qala lapho then you go to high school, it's the same thing. You see the dropout, most of the dropout. I remember when we went to the school majority of students who were going to writing their exams, almost like 90% were mantomazan, 10% abafana. And then you ask why, and then the teachers were like, most of these guys bad drop out. Now you look at a number yabantu South Africa that qualifies ukuthi babe or get a degree, 8% in South Africa from 18 to 34. So there's like 8% of abantu who are accurate abakwazi ucabanga nokufunda naba qualify bathola i-degree, the rest ayikelezile. So uyabona ukuthi inkinga iqala la ekukhulisweni kwakho umfana ukuthi i-behavior onendlela aphathwa ngayo ihlukile kunaleyo ntombazane, because vele nawe useyayibona ukuthi hayi vele then high school etheshari akasasiboni isidingo sokuya etheshari because vele sebemfakile ipeni elibovu ukuthi vele uzoba usikhotheni Usiqede isikole. Yabo, obani. Vele ekhaya isimo sihle vele. Uyambona uma wakho yashizile. And you know very well into eshodayo la yini imali, not a degree. So how can I be motivated to go to school? But then the question is, we need people that are gonna say, askeleze. Now, we must be intentional as a society or as a country. Let's study maths and science because the world now is moving digital. And the only way forward now is for us to understand these things, especially AI, blockchain. That's the solution. I said this to other guy the other day. I'm like, see, right now, if you understand history, you know very well, Luguti, each and every 100 years, things changes. There's an empire that comes and take over. Right now, we know very well that China's empire is taking over. For the next 50 to 100 years, China is going to be dominating. That we know for the fact. Now, the question is, by 21, Gyale, if Africa doesn't rise up from 21,000 upward, that's caution as pinned. So what I'm trying to say is that it all has to start with the grooming. We need to pay attention to these boys. They must know that they're appreciated, they're loved. They must know that if they're going to school, they're going to become doctors, lawyers. They must also see people who are qualified and come back and see them because angeke uyifundise ingane mfethu ngokuthi ukhulume nayo ingakiboni. Kungcono makhona abantu ebabona abaphuma khona same da. But manje inkinga lezi eziphuma la zivele ibaleke kakhulu. So that's how we're going to motivate these boys. At least now, mama, if bekhuluma kubona, bakhuluma izinto eziphosa. Even teachers too in school, making sure they encourage these boys because enye izinto esiphinde siyibone when it comes to the grooming of abafana ezikoleni ukuthi some of these boys abakwazi understand because the education system here is one size fits all, which is nonsense. That's why some of these guys can't even process izinto abayifunda. So kuneyintwana understand that better is into through visuals. Understand it through bhala phansi incwadi. So now if you're gonna put these kids together, a class in and then you're thinking labo AEO namaqhwagi yona into overseas. No, but there are kids here who only understand things through visual. So you need to also make sure that you're paying attention to those kids. Manje, that's another problem. It's now because inking is one thing I know is school and you think it's a responsibility of school ukuthi wena momzali usuphumile la kanti nabazali kumele bayidlale indima ukuthi ingane zifunde, you know what I mean? So I think we need to also start from grooming and help these boys to understand the importance of ukufunda because education ibalulekile. We can say whatever, each and every country that is leading right now as we talk about China, what do? They change their education system. They invested in young kids. Now these kids bahlanganisa robots, bahlanganisa even the smartphone. 5-year-old is doing that. So 5-year-olds are busy TikTok, Sharma challenges. So we also need to emphasize the importance of education to these kids and also understand there's also motivation at the same time. Babone la abaphuma la abaqale la bafunda because nakhona if uzomtshela umjita manje ukuthi education is the key uzokubuza akubalele abantu abakelezile abangaspani today then azobona umjita ongakelezanga but ophumelele, nakhona akubona ukuthi kusekungcono because at the end of the day you see ukuthi njoba thengisho uyalibona olethe lashizi and uyabona le degree ya 4 years good. So I'd rather just go hustle and make money so that I can provide at home because unalento ekuthini men must provide. I feel like I'm a man, I have to provide because so also nalokho kuyadlala indima ukuthi we also need to have programs that are gonna try and motivate the kids to go to school and give them guidance too. And njengobusho my brother, we need to go back to communal. The community fethu yona ekwazi ukuraise umntwana, not lento individualism yokuthi hayi ingane yami ingathintwa ayisizi umuntu leyo.